My word, no.
I can't either. I'd have to look back.
Oh, my. Yeah,
But
it's been a bit.
It has. But here we are, season cuatro, I think.
I don't think that's right.
You don't think that's right?
I think it's 3.
I think it's
No.
3. I think it's 3, too.
Yeah, no, I think it's 3.
I think it's 3, too.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Homeology podcast, a weekly conversation with your HVAC team here at Vertex Mechanical. We're glad you've taken a few moments as part of your day to laugh with us, maybe learn something new, and be inspired.
I don't know. Fact check us.
We'll have to do that later. But welcome back to the Homeology podcast. We've been on a decent hiatus here for a bit.
Yeah.
Part of that was lots of transitions, lots of changes, lots of growth for Vertex. But I'm JV.
I'm Vince Youndt.
Yep. I'm Nate.
Still are?
Still are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're really excited to kind of rekindle our Homeology podcasts here. And we've got quite a lineup actually for the next, I don't know, like 10 to 12 episodes already kind of planned out, and some on-site things we're doing, some traveling we're doing, some places to visit, which is going to be super great. But today we're kind of going to do a quick recap on what was a pretty legitimate winter, because we're just about to Easter weekend here. But it's like, I'm sure that other states also have like the Spring of Delusion, where like yesterday it was, this morning, frost and 32.
Yeah, right.
And by tomorrow, 82.
Yeah, right.
50 degrees. I mean, does every state have that, or is Pennsylvania just notoriously contradictory? And
I think Pennsylvania's
It
just...
seems like Pennsylvania wants to always hang on at the end of the year, right?
right?
You're
Yeah.
so ready for spring, and it just doesn't want to show up.
Yeah.
And in our world, that means we may have a no heat call in the morning, and then by the afternoon, my AC doesn't work.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's Pennsylvania
been-
in a nutshell.
It's happened.
Yeah, but we're coming out of a winter that was one of the stronger cold spells than we've experienced in.
It was finally a winter.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
I bet it's been 30 years. I
think?
mean, it's been a long time since
That's another
I
fact check right
remember
there. Better.
Yeah, fact check
that being, yeah. Well, I remember 94. 94 was a really bad year. For whatever reason, that one sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
I think that was the year we had all the ice on Route 30 all the way down to York, and and it stayed that way for like a month just
You
because
know
it never got warm
What's
enough.
great about 94? I wasn't even born in 94.
Easy.
And I was a freshman. So I probably remember it, but I don't remember it like you do. I don't
Yeah.
remember that clarity.
Well, I just remember, I mean, it was really hard. I mean, that year being in the field, obviously, as a young guy, but there was a lot of dig out.
I'm sure
a
it
lot
was,
of ice
yeah.
chipping. So stuff like that sticks with you.
I guess so.
It just
Well, for
doesn't
anyone
go away.
watching, if you can remember 94 as well and want
Yeah.
to submit your fact verification for one, did that actually happen, or any stories, we'd love to hear them. But so we had quite a winter,
Yep.
and that creates a little bit of anxiety, some stress on systems, and obviously we've had a significant shift since 1994 towards heat pumps and their use in our region. We still have lots of multi-fuels that operate in this area, but heat pumps in particular. I guess my question was, how did they do? How did heat pumps hold up in the intensity of the wind and the cold? And what did most homeowners experience this year?
Well, I think the old ones, the old ones got a real run for
Yeah.
their
And by
money.
old, what do you mean old? Like
I'm
what
talking
age?
about anything that's probably, more than, 10, 12, maybe
Yep.
15 years old.
Okay.
Yep. I would agree.
Those got to work out.
Yeah.
This wasn't their favorite year.
Yeah, I think probably what most homeowners would experience is the difference between going from a design day, or what a design day is in our world. Anything 10 degrees and above is a design day.
Yeah.
What homeowners probably remember is the days that were outside of that, and
Yeah.
maybe their heat pumps weren't keeping up.
Sure.
And we would actually say that, yeah, that's actually completely normal, because
Yeah.
it is outside of our design
And
day.
design day, you're referencing like manufacturer's specs
Yeah.
on normal operating conditions.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Like ACA standards
Yeah.
is what we're looking
Sure.
at. Yep.
Yeah, design day is so obviously in Pennsylvania we have colder days than 10 degrees, but we have to pick a number somewhere. So the ACCA, ASHRAE, they put those parameters out for us, and they say that a 10-degree day here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, is what we're going to call a design day. That's the day you're going to design to for heating
Got it.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah. For loads and for performance.
Essentially, you're looking at like 365 days in the year. There's about 28 days on average in Pennsylvania that would fall outside of that design day or
Is
that
both
10 degrees.
The cold as well as heat?
Heat is typically like 90 degrees.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
there's about 20 days in Pennsylvania
Yeah.
that will fall outside of that.
So we probably had a few more than what we are used to.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
necessarily unusual.
No,
And-
Correct.
No.
Yeah. So the older units, they struggled a bit to keep up, and that means that they went into some auxiliary heat.
Yep.
Some,
Yeah.
probably a lot.
Yep.
Probably a lot. Yeah. And so those would be some of the calls that we received, and maybe you had called in at one
Yeah.
point also, because the question was, it seems like it's running a lot.
Yep.
Is that okay? Is it normal? Should I be concerned? All of those questions were being asked,
Yep.
which we anticipated.
Yep.
But that's an ongoing education piece for homeowners, especially because if it has been 30 years, then we haven't seen that type of demand and load on systems.
There's probably a lot of new homeowners out there that probably never experienced something like this.
Right.
That
Good
point.
maybe have owned a home for 10 years and never really experienced something
great
like this with.
Well, not
with their
only is
heat
the
pump.
equipment at that point taxed, but your house at that moment
Yeah.
is losing heat faster than it's ever lost before.
Yep.
So,
So
you
true.
have two things working against that poor unit
That's a
sitting
great point.
out there.
Yep. Yeah.
It's not its favorite time.
Yeah, I think I was looking at my utility bill probably about last month, and I was looking at the difference in temperatures between
Yeah.
this year, this February, or this January, and last year, and it was on average, it was probably on the whole month was probably on average like 5 degrees colder or more.
Yeah.
And so when you see this fluctuation in your utility bill from last year to this year, make sure you pay attention to the temperature rating and what it was.
And that, every one of those degrees really matters. I mean,
It does,
people
yeah.
like 5 degrees, that doesn't sound like a whole lot.
Yeah, I think-
Average day, 5 degrees lower.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I think my consumption was up over 20%
Yeah.
year over year.
Yep.
And yeah, you can see that. I'm thankful for that clarity, so
Yep.
that it didn't produce some of the panic.
Yeah.
But many homeowners did, and so the older systems struggled. Newer systems, how were they doing? What was the difference?
Yeah, the biggest difference is the technology inside of the heat pumps today. The fact that they have maybe an inverter compressor, or a compressor that has the ability to ramp up higher than what its capacity actually is. They perform a lot better.
Sure.
They also have the ability to defrost kind of while they're running, and so that makes a big difference too in terms of the auxiliary heat consumption, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's a
And
great point.
Even the geosystems this year, though,
Yeah.
we were getting a lot of calls that, hey, my auxiliary heat's running a lot more.
Yeah.
Is something wrong? It's like, no, you're fine. But the geosystems, most of the ones that we have in our systems are two-stage.
Yeah.
And even the two-stage compressors, performed a little bit better.
Right.
We call that, I mean, that's not old technology. We're not there yet. We're not calling that old technology. But against the inverters, which are really becoming popular today,
Yeah.
that is kind of like that middle-aged,
Yep.
shall we say,
Yeah.
product that is still performing well, but this year was rough.
Yep.
So do you think there's anyone out there that's still kind of looking at heat pumps, whether they have a new one or old one, and after having gone through a winter like this, are kind of second guessing whether it's the right piece of equipment to have? And are folks that had, gas furnaces, as an example, are they like celebrating, wow, we made it through? Or is it really just a price parity because they were still consuming more fuel to
Yeah.
do the same work?
Well, at the end of the day, everybody, there's always the perfect system for any particular day, right? So when it's 0 degrees outside, everybody wishes they had a fossil fuel,
True.
Beautiful, gas burning, piece of equipment downstairs, just keeping everything toasty. But then, hey, the heat pump people, they get to make up the difference when
Yeah.
it's days like today, when it's 50 degrees outside, and I mean that thing's going to perform off the charts. It's
Yeah.
going to make great heat. It's going to make great comfort. Going to be super happy. So you got to kind of weigh it out. I tell people this all the time. You got to really kind of pay attention to the fact that there's an entire 365 days to the year. Let's not focus in on that 1 week of the entire year,
The
maybe even the
5 or
past
10%.
decade.
Yeah.
Where
Sure.
wow, it was really cold. Did I make a mistake? No, you didn't. You're fine.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it, I think, because when you're under the maximum stress, the maximum
That's right.
load,
Yep.
for whatever reason, you kind of key into that, and it's like, this was awful, when in reality, like you said, the other 340 days out of the year
Yeah.
have been just wonderful.
That fossil fuel piece of equipment is going to operate at the same efficiency, whether it is 0 degrees out, which is
Yes.
great, or whether it's 50 degrees out, which is not so good.
Yeah.
Whereas a heat pump or a geothermal, for instance, could be operating at 300 or 400% efficiency
Yes.
today, and get down somewhere around that 93, 94% efficiency when it is 0 degrees
Right.
outside. So
Yep.
it's the biggest difference.
Speaking of that, two things before we wrap up this episode is we're going to turn to geos here in another episode real soon, because you mentioned 300, 400% efficiency, which is a extremely important number to talk about when it comes to geothermal. So make sure if you have questions about that you pay attention to that upcoming episode. And then the other thing that's coming up is there is yet another opportunity out there to explore a different type of heating system, an alternative heating system. And we're actually going to be taking a field trip coming up here in soon.
A week. Yep.
To visit some friends, and we're not going to tell you what that is. You'll find out soon enough. But it's pretty cool because there are actually other options out there related to heat sources for the winter that do work pretty well in Pennsylvania. So
That's right.
we'll talk about them coming up. But we got geo stuff coming up and more. So hey, thanks for joining us for a little quick on-ramp back into the Homeology podcast. It's been fun to talk about what was, but I'm grateful that we are into the spring.
Yeah.
Me too.
For sure. Or the spring-ish.
Spring-ish. I think we're there. We're there now.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're there.
Great.
No turn
Well,
back.
I do not want to turn back at least for another 10 months,
Yeah, that's
until
right.
we get back to the cold weather. So thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Homeology Podcast.
See.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today. As always, we hope you enjoyed your time with us and that you'll return again next week. And if you need to get a hold of us, just visit vertex-mechanical.com to call or email.